everyone, I am Ina Sahasha, founder of Embodied Sanskrit, and I'm on the road. I left Boulder last week, and now I'm in New York, and soon I will depart for Europe, starting with Istanbul. And you'll hear more about that, so keep in touch with my blog and keep watching. Every week I'm posting these videos, and I'm letting go of the whole Sanskrit tutorial for now, and we're just going to have fun. I'm just going to record me being on vacation at times and being on teaching yoga at times and seeing the world from time to time. So I'm here in New York right now with my good friend Colleen Lila, founder of Colleen Lila Yoga.
Hello.
And I have been so inspired in our talks over the last week because Colleen has really made her name in her local community as a yoga teacher who specializes in private yoga and giving privates for private clientele in people's homes. And in your home, or do you have a studio space?
Mostly in people's homes. I go to some offices as well, middle of the day, which is perfect because it's such a dead time for teachers. We usually have a big space between morning classes and evening classes. But teaching in people's offices, in their office space, sometimes some of the places I teach, they actually create a yoga studio in their offices for yoga.
That's so exciting that it's becoming more and more.
Yeah, they're finding that it helps people relax and be more productive at work.
Good. Well, I know for other yoga teachers out there, we're like, it's about time.
Yeah, really.
So what I want to know, because I've had some privates in the past, and I feel like I have never really established, a large percentage of my yoga teacher income from delivering private sessions to people, is how you have found that niche, and also how you've sustained it, like how you keep people coming back and hiring you week after week, or multiple times a week, for long periods of time?
That's a good question. I think the first thing to understand about private clients is the psychology behind a private. So you have you have people who, for whatever reason, would prefer to be at home, and there's a lot of reasons for that. So the first thing to do is to take a lot of specialized yoga teacher trainings. So, for instance, you want to take yoga for, say, pregnancy, yoga postnatal. You also want to take or understand yoga for anxiety, yoga for depression, yoga for people who are overweight. And also, a lot of my privates are men because they're very intimidated about going into a studio with all these very flexible yoginis. And so they prefer to learn their practice in the comfort of their own home, get comfortable with the practice before they will step into a studio space, which you can understand.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So having done a lot of those trainings, I think I started to set my niche, and I didn't even realize I was doing it at the time.
Is dog yoga another niche?
Yeah, I think so. So that was the first thing to do. And then having established, actually I'm also trained in Thai massage. So that also helps with people who like really, I don't know, that for whatever reason they're down, they're exhausted, they want to cancel their private yoga session that day, but you can then offer, Thai massage so that you can keep them in their slot, keep them rolling. That's a really big thing I find, is if you can nail down a time for them every week, set it on their calendar, then they're much more likely to stick with it. The other thing to do is to create packages. And that way, you're in control of cancellations, too. So I require a 24-hour cancellation. And and so...
And you don't bring your dog to pet?
I definitely... Well, the times that I have, I actually lost the clients because she tinkled on their carpet.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, so don't bring your dog.
Don't talk about your personal problems.
You had mentioned before, too, which I think is really kind of nifty, like, don't necessarily get all spiritual. Because although you said a lot of these people are beginners.
Well, that's another part.
Privates.
Exactly. And that was something I learned the hard way also in the beginning when I first started teaching privates was, I walked into these people's house and they were, they had their faith, they had their religion, and they were pretty devout. And I pulled out, some ancient yogic texts and I started to read them to them. And they were actually kind of offended. And I never got a call back. Surprise, surprise.
So don't bring your dog, don't bring the text, don't necessarily bring the harmonium, but sometimes people do want that.
Yeah, and then I've had the opposite too, but they'll let you know. And what I find though is that once you establish a relationship, people really open up to this practice and all that it has to offer. But generally, they want just the basics, and then after a while they open up. Sorry.
It's okay. So what about pricing? Okay, because one thing that I have always not really enjoyed about life in general is talking about money.
Right.
And I'm opening up to that more and not being afraid of it because there's really no reason to be afraid. That's logical. How do you approach that with your people?
It's definitely something you want to tread very carefully. I think that you also need to know your community. So you're in Boulder, and from what I understand, the going rate of yoga classes privately is $75. Here in Westchester County, it's like $125. So what I do is I offer packages, and then I give a little discount if they're going to do a package. And then I'm really clear on my 24-hour policy. And if they cancel last minute, I do charge them for the session. But I give them, a couple of freebies, here and there, especially if I've been canceling, if I've gotten sick, or, the driveway hasn't been plowed for me to get to them. And so I'm a little bit flexible, but the main thing is to really be very clear. And to not allow a fear of money or talking about money get in the way of that relationship. Just being very matter-of-fact about it and honest. For instance, I started to notice that I had some clients that were really chatty in their session, and I was afraid, learned from experience, that if they chatted a lot, they weren't going to really derive the benefits from the practice, and that they wouldn't see that it was worth their money. Now, they may not know that, but I knew that. So I had to take the lead and talk to them about, staying focused and getting the benefit from the practice, and then, slotting a little bit of extra time either before or after for catching up and connecting.
So is that something that you factor into what you're offering when you go to someone's home to do
with
private?
Certain clients.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that's something I've had trouble with, in that it's like this much money for the time, and then you go and you're chatty for 20 minutes, and then you finally do some yoga, and then you go stay for tea, and it's chat, and I don't want to I'm enjoying myself, and I feel like we've become friends, but I also want to value my own time, and that once you start hanging out and you're staying over.
Oh, yeah.
Not like you can't do that on occasion, or not like that's even unprofessional, just in that, you have a bottom line for what you're charging, your time is worth privately per hour to commute to someone's home, facilitate the experience there, and then it ends up being twice as much time.
Totally. And the other really tricky thing is, how do you walk that fine line between being their teacher and being their friend? That's tough because, you start talking and your guard is down, and then maybe you start exposing, some of your own personal problems, but they're looking to you as inspiration to be a leader. So it is a fine line to tread. I find that, that's something to really be guarded about, especially with certain clients, I know that, we know that it's unrealistic expectation to think of, their yoga teachers as not not having human problems. But there is that expectation. So,
I'm very human.
I'm very human
I'm very
too.
human.
So I think the best thing,
You're not.
yeah, to do, and even in those chatty sessions, is I say, like, I have a hard stop today, or I can chat for 20 minutes, as it starts to get chatty. Well, I can stay with you for about 20 minutes and have tea, but I'm going to have to leave at this time. And then we can talk over the week if you'd like to talk more. And then what I try to do is whatever it is we're talking about, I try to, like, bring it back into the theme. Whatever it is we've been talking about, whatever teaching or sutra or heart theme, and just somehow make it relevant. And that way, when you leave, they feel a little uplifted. That, of course, can be draining, right? If you spend your whole day giving, and you're not getting back from your relationship. So I think, again, it's a fine line to tread, but it's possible. And it's possible to feel filled up from that experience as well. As long as you learn how to find that balance.
Well, I feel like I have so many more questions for you, and I'm sure other people do too, because I'm really not joking when I say that, like, Colleen makes her living doing this mostly privates, and I think that's amazing, both in, like, the type of connection that you can make from people, and also in the bottom, like, your own living needs as a person living on the planet who has certain financial obligations that are, come with life here on Earth. And I really want you to do a whole course on this. I just want to say it for the record so it's out there on the YouTube. I want her to do a course on it. So whenever that happens, and for more info on our upcoming teacher trainings, you can go to your website.
Yeah.
What is it again?
ColleenLilaYoga.com.
ColleenLilaYoga.com. Okay.
Yeah.
Right, so go there. I'll see you there.
I'll be there.
Do you have any other, any other quick tidbits of wisdom in private yoga world to offer, like, right now?
Well, I think the main thing is that once you get one or two privates, they really do lead into more. They seem to snowball. So your professionalism, your punctuality, and your openness to wherever your student is at in their own personal life, just being open to giving the yoga that's needed will lead you to more and more privates. Yeah. And you can actually establish quite a following this way. Yeah, good luck.
That's so exciting. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Nina. So good to have you.
It's been so fun to spend the week with you.
I know, it's been a blast.
This is like 10 minutes that we have distilled over hours and hours and hours of talking. And again, she's going to do a course on this sometime soon, and I know I'm not the only one who's interested in that, especially since there's been so much talk, like on the online yoga world, that, for teachers is more about, like how to make it work. You have something to offer, but oftentimes, $25 a class doesn't really cut it unless you want to sling 25 classes a week, which from my experience is really hard to do long term, and for me isn't very sustainable. So this is like the ongoing dialogue to figure out how to branch into different ways of service. And there's a couple examples I know of like business models for yoga teachers, and they all involve leading lots of privates. So anyone else out there interested in getting better at that, I know I am. So thanks so much for checking this out. Stay in touch with me on the Facebook, on the YouTube channel, because I'm going to have lots more fun blogs coming out as I depart North America and enter Europe for the month of June. So stay in touch, and thank you again so much, Colleen.
Thank you.
And the dear Riley, also known as Bija. And I'll see you next time. Namaste.
Namaste.